And I'm going to kick it over. Oh, wait, I forgot. We got to do our welcomes. We're DAIT. See, this is what I meant. I already forgot how to do some things. So we're DIIT. My name's Laura Ogando, Program Manager for the Office of Digital Literacy and Inclusion. Going to pass it over to Lisa.
I think Lisa hopped on another meeting, she said in the back channel, but she's going to be back in a little bit. I'll go and replace into that. Hi, everybody. You know me. Happy New Year 2021. Wow. Hope everyone's doing all right. I'm excited. We're back. Happy Friday. Oh my gosh. EdTech Program Implementation Manager. We have some exciting sessions lined up for 2021. I can't wait to make that happen. Passing it back to Laura.
Thank you. And then as always, going to shout out my girl, Latiqua. Latiqua's in the back channel as per usual, always making sure you get all the links you need. All right. So she's here. Make sure if you haven't done so already, open up the chat. The chat is where it's at, right? We're going to make sure that you get everything you need today. Okay. So with that being said, I'm going to kick it over to Derry because it's now her turn. Woo!
Okay, guys, here we go. Help me to count down this year. 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. At least one. I have to say, welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy New Year. Shout out to everyone who's on the line today. I know we didn't, it was the first week back, so we weren't able to send out reminder email messages. But guess what? In a few minutes, I will introduce a new communication tool that I'm so excited that as long as we're a part of this community, you guys can get the latest information. But with that, I just want to mention that I'm so grateful for this year because it does kick off the beginning of an exciting new year of learning together. But before we get started and I introduce the communication tools, I would love to hear one thing that you learned in 2020 from the Digital Fridays. So I just want to just see exactly what did you guys learn? Just one thing, share one thing, or maybe share a feeling. How are you feeling about our Fridays? Yeah, just drop it on the chat. Let's check it out. We got Cheryl Levert. Great resources as always. I love it. Fridays are awesome and needed. Woo! Absolutely. The Fridays are great. Thank you. Look forward to Fridays. So as you guys are mentioning some of the things, how you feeling about Fridays, I just want to, I want to share a story, right? For those, and I have here my colleague, Diana Miller. Diana, do you want to say quickly, hello? Just quickly introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. As always, I am delighted to be here. I love our Fridays. They are so resourceful. I obtain so much energy because by the time Thursday and Friday come, I'm exhausted. Don't ask me where I get the energy from you guys because you guys are so vibrant, so full of energy, so enthusiastic, and I'm always eager to be part of this meeting. So thank you so much, and I welcome everyone that's here today and continue to spread the word as I continue to do so in my weekly meetings. Thank you so much. Have a great day. I know you're going to have fun today.
Thank you so much, Diana. So I want to share a story. So if you guys been a part of the citywide professional developments that we used to have prior, I'm always looking. One of the things that is interesting, right, is resources, and you guys probably can identify with this. When we want to do big things, we're looking for ways. So who is in our networks, who can provide that free resource, that workshop, that place when we used to have in-person workshops. And we know that sometimes, our resources are very limited, when we want to do big things. And I'm all about doing big things. So if you guys remember when this summer in the city, we had it at the New York Public Library, we had museums, PDs, PCPDs, FLCPDs. So we're always looking for the big things. Now, I'm mentioning this because as we're reflecting in our times together on our Fridays, I am just so grateful for the next big thing. And that's leveraging our colleagues expertise. And with that, what I mean is, we wouldn't be able to have Friday without our colleagues at DIIT, which is Lisa, Christina, Latiqua, Laura, and Holly from Common Sense Education. I'm always so impressed when she brings more resources. So I just want to just kind of acknowledge this partnership that we have, FACE has. And when I say FACE, we're all FACE, right? We represent family and community empowerment, right? We're central, we're the district, we're at the school level, and we actually are the liaisons to ensure that our parents stay connected. And we cannot do this work without leveraging our expertise from our colleagues and also our CBO partners. So I don't know, guys, if you could turn on your camera, wave, just continue to say thank you to our amazing partners, our amazing, amazing colleagues, because we cannot do this work without you. I actually every day on Fridays when I'm here, I'm like, wow, now I know how to use the QR codes. I'm just always blown away with the resources and information. But best of all, we talk about community, and sometimes people's like, wow, I miss this community. I miss being a part of a community. And I feel like our Fridays, our watch parties is a time that we get together and we continue in our community. It looks different, but I feel you guys. I feel the energy, So thank you all, for joining us on Fridays, on the Wednesdays. And I just can't wait for this new year of transitions, of hope, and more of learning together to build this community for our families. Um, so with that said, I can't wait to share that we now, as you guys, when you came back from the new year, you were introduced for those who were not already a part of the Teams community, Microsoft Teams community. You did receive an email saying that you joined this community. Now, I thought it was awesome because I know with me, I tend to forget this amazing information to how to join in. So it was great to feel like, wow, someone already did it for me. And all I had to say was, yay, I'm here. But unfortunately, it was one glitch. And we know when we want to do something, there's always something. It cannot always be 100%. And that's okay because we don't live in a perfect world, right? It's always a challenge, or there's something that we just got to figure it out. And so with that, we just want to let you know that we did put together this amazing community where we can continue having the conversations after the Friday series, where you can get a one-stop shop, your one-stop shop digital information, as well as all the videos that you would like to see. But not only does our colleagues provide our Fridays, but they have sessions happening every single day. So if you're not a part of the Teams channel yet, please let your PCs know. Please let your colleagues know, other peers, because it is going to be a fun community where we're going to actually have a lot of information. And I know Christina Baez, she led our coffee tech conversation where she answered all the questions we had regarding devices, regarding tech issues at the school level. So this is like a high level communication channel, right? It's not a second party, it's not a third party venue. It's our DOE colleagues, our partners in this work, our colleagues that are providing this amazing opportunity to connect with us every single day so that we can help equip our parents, that we can have effective communication between us where we're learning together, where we're sharing resources. So I actually want to just turn it over to Laura really quickly just to kind of share a little bit more about the Teams channel, because I think it's important for us to really understand like what is this community going to be about, also some community agreements. That it is a positive, it's not spam, everyone. And sorry, my dog is barking. It's not spam. We're not spam. We're actually a community where we're learning, with resources, where we're just kind of like, tag teaming each other of what's happening in today's digital world. So Laura, can you share a little bit more? What are we in for?
Absolutely. Thank you, Derry. So for those of you that are unaware, Teams can be used in a variety of ways. In fact, you probably are using Teams as part of the Office 365 package to communicate with your colleagues. But within the Microsoft Teams, you can create teams of people. And we created one actually a while ago. This is not a new team. It's been around for over a year. We just happened to add a lot of folks in because we constantly get the request of like, wait, add me. I don't know where the link to the meeting is, or I want that resource. I want this, I want that. And so it's, like Derry said, a one-stop shop for you. So we understand that, you came back and some of you, you may have been a little dismayed because you saw your inbox, January 4th and you were like, that's a lot of emails. But we've actually, because of this experience, we've actually gone ahead and turned some of those features off. It was actually a good thing kind of that this happened in a way, because it allowed us to see some features that we needed and some features that we needed to turn off. So we've been working with the folks at Microsoft so that you don't get the clutter, because we absolutely get it. We're all about those New Year's resolutions, keeping 2021 free of the clutter, the drama, the nonsense. So you should not get any more of those welcome emails. You're not going to see it in your inbox. We've gone ahead and turned that feature off. And we're working with our Microsoft partners to make sure that the Teams experience is a positive one, because you don't need another thing to stress you out. But as Derry was saying, this community is meant to be a back and forth. And I think that's the difference with a community and Teams, is that it's not just us giving you information. You as members of the team can then also post in the feed. You can share, you can ask questions, you can tag other folks. So please feel free to use it as a place to kind of get that information. We have a lot of other teams that we're part of, Spock teams. We have our partner trainers. We have all sorts of different teams that we're part of that have been very positive communities. And you don't have to wait until Friday, right? Like, I think that's the other thing too, is like, we meet on Friday, but what if you have a question on Tuesday, right? What if you're wondering about something, randomly on a Monday morning, you get in a question, you're like, wait, I think the folks at DIIT would know this, or like this was presented at an information session. I wonder if I can like figure this out. Why should I have to wait till Friday? Well, you don't. So that is what the Teams channel is all about. It's about us connecting with each other. So please feel free to use it. We're going to, I think, because of all this, we're going to put together some training. So look for that in the coming days. We'll kind of do a more robust, like how to use it, how to really make sure, just like we did with Zoom, how to make sure that you're using the most out of this platform. And that way, we can all learn and grow together. That's what this is about. We're not trying to spam each other. We're not trying to clutter each other's inboxes. That's not what this is. This is all about positivity, because we don't need none of that other stuff for 2021. This week has proven that for sure. So
thank you so much, Laura. And one last thing, I just want to give you guys a shout out. Thank you guys for continuing to follow us on Fridays. For the FLCs who are in the house and the FSCs, make sure you just, if you want, we can send you the talking points. We're going to actually have a blurb on the end of the week wrap-up email. Once again, reminding everyone about the team channel. I know that we sent communication out in the past, but it happens. We sort of forget because we receive so much communication. But look out for the end of the week wrap-up email. It's going to have a blurb. If you can kindly share that with other PCs, because I really believe that this is an amazing community that we can stay connected, and we can actually even send out the latest updates from FACE regarding events for parents and also upcoming trainings. So thank you guys. Help us to build this community. Also, if you have any any ideas or suggestion on how we can make this community 2.0 it, please let us know. Send me an email, send Laura email. Happy to take all the emails for suggestions. And we also are going to have, I think we do have that. I'm sorry. We have an FLC and FSC team channel that we can connect. We can drop it in the link on the chat a little bit later during the session, so that we can have sort of another conversation regarding some district opportunities. So thank you guys. Laura, I'm turning it back over to you. If you have any questions, we are here for you. we're just excited for this new year, and it's just gonna be amazing. So thank you so much, everyone, and thank you so much for your commitment to empower our families and to stay connected.
All right. So again, thank you all. I'm now going to turn it over to Tally, and she's got some really important stuff to talk about and share with you. So Tally, take it away.
Great. Thanks so much, Lauren. It's great to see you all here. I just have to give my weekly shout out to Mrs. Shamana, my former parent coordinator when I was teaching, and Miss Pamela, my kids' parent coordinator. So thank you and Happy New Year, everyone. If you don't mind going to the next slide, Laura. I wanted, oops. This has obviously been a really tough week, and I just wanted to share an article that Common Sense put out. Thanks for opening it, and we'll put it in the chat to the link. But this really breaks down how to talk to kids about the violence. You can see at the top, it's possible to see this in Spanish as well. And we break it down by age ranges, you know, with the youngest kids really saying, you know, let's not talk about it with them, make sure the TV is off, the radio's off. And then when we start getting to around 8 years old, the first question is really ask your kids, what do they already know? So find out what's going on in their head and how they're processing it. And then of course, we also have advice for teens. So please feel free to share that. I know today's session is going to be talking about social media too. This is a great and easy thing to share on social media. Thanks, Laura, for putting that in the chat. So that's one piece to share. And then the next, kind of in that vein, I wanted to take us back to Wide Open School, which is on the next slide. So something we're really excited about, we now have the translate button. So if we go to Wide Open School in any capacity right now, if we open up that link, you'll see the button at the top. It's the Google Translate button. So yeah, right at the top where it says set language. So you can choose whatever language. So please feel free to share this with your families. I chose an activity I wanted to highlight today from our emotional well-being category. And it's on the slide. It's a kindness challenge. So I'm going to ask you all right now to take a minute, look away from the screen, to rest your eyes. And I just want you to think about one way that you could show kindness to someone, either in your household or a colleague. You know, this could be sending a note to a colleague, a friend, a neighbor who maybe lives alone, you haven't talked to in a while, just letting them know that you're thinking about them, something you appreciate. As you're taking a moment to think about this, you can feel free to share it in the chat or just keep it to yourself. I also wanted to give a shout out to Miss Johnson from Brooklyn. I think she may be on today, but she reached out to me back in October because she was doing a parent presentation around social media and just wanted to get some resources from Common Sense. And I know there is so much going on, and I just really appreciate that she reached out to, you know, take that extra step. So think about whatever kind of kindnesses we can share. And then the last part I wanted to share with you today, which is on the next slide, is also on Wide Open School, and we'll pop this in the chat as well. But we have a new winter wellness category with a whole bunch of different resources. You can see in front of you, there's these cards of encouragement, which are really beautiful. And we also have this 21-day challenge. So I'm not sure, Laura, if you can click on that and it'll open up the PDF. And just so you can see, sorry, Laura, before you click on that too, you can see that you've got that visit and send. So you can share this directly to Google Classroom, to yourself via email. You can also heart it so you can come back later. But I love this 21-day challenge, and I'm gonna out the DIIT and face team. I know we've got some avid worker outers here. I'm not sure if that's a word, but you can see you've got, you know, get planking, daily sit-ups, daily dance party. And again, this is a really nice thing to share on social media. You could share the whole PDF, or it could just be sending out, hey, you know, parent, family, community reminder, let's do this movement together today. How is it going? And it's a nice way to get that feedback from your families too, and kind of solidify that community. So thank you all. And feel free to share any questions or comments in the chat.
Oh, yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that this is translated in pretty much all the languages. Is if we download, like for example, the 21-day challenge, does that translate the PDF in another language?
No, so it's the PDF for that is available in English and Spanish right now. The idea with this was because Wide Open School, it's both for families and directly for kids. Like if you go to the student activities, is that a parent could say, oh, I can see this topic and read about it. But then when you click on the different links, it takes you oftentimes out of Wide Open School. So it might take you to PBS. It might take you to Nat Geo. These types of 21-day challenges, this is from Common Sense. So what I'm hoping is that very soon you will have that translate button on all of our stuff too. So we started with Wide Open School. I'm hoping this also comes to general Common Sense Media and all of our other collaterals, and I will continue to share that feedback.
All right, who's ready to do the 21-day challenge? I'm ready. I'm ready to do it on Friday. I'm doing it.
Hold me accountable.
Hold me accountable, please. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tali.
Yeah, and I just want to shout out, I mean, this is huge, this translate button. Tali and the Common Sense team have been working with us. You know, we're all about accessibility. In fact, we're going to talk about accessibility in social media today, but we worked with them to really help provide feedback and guidance. And this is a process. So as Tali said, it's not perfect just yet. You know, not every single resource is directly translated. However, we're getting closer and closer. So, you know, I know that this was something that a lot of you on the call, PCs, FLCs, FSCs, everyone was like, hey, this is great, but, you know, it'd be great if it was in this language, this language. Well, guess what? You now have at least part of that feature available. So, you know, it's a work in progress, and I'm super stoked about this because this is huge, guys. This really, really is. But again, continue to keep that feedback open, share this with your families, and then let us know, because that's how we make things better, right? Like we're by no means saying it's perfect. We know that there's always room for growth, right? So again, thank you for sharing those resources, Tali, especially the resources about how to speak to children about the events that happened earlier this week. That's going to be huge. I know the chancellor provided some guidance. You know, Wide Open School, Common Sense has some great information as well. Please use these resources and share them, because these conversations are happening, right? And we want to make sure that we facilitate that process in a developmentally appropriate way. All right, but, oh, hold on. I think I forgot to hide that slide. All right, so let's get into the how are you feeling? 1 second here while I launch the poll. All right, so we always like to check in. It's been a tough week back. We're probably having all the feelings. I know I think I've had all of these feelings literally like within like the span of a few minutes. Where like I vacillate between like A and like D, and then I'm like, you know, I tire myself out. So, you know, it's okay to have all the feelings right about now. But let us know. You see that poll on your screen. And I'm gonna be real honest today. I'm typically, I think I'm typically F. I'm usually Diana, where I'm just like cheerful and happy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling a little E. I'm feeling a little tired. It's been quite the week, but you guys give me life and energy, and I really do mean it. And I'm so grateful that we have this group.
Someone in the chat said we need a all of the above option. I'm tending towards that too.
You know what? We're gonna have to add that, right? H is gonna be everything.
Laura, you're gonna be the representative for that picture.
Right? All the feelings all at once. But, you know, just for those of you who are new on the call, who haven't been part of this and who haven't seen this, it's good to check in, part of just social emotional well-being. You know, if you're running trainings for families, it's good to check in as well. You can do something like this where, you know, our team got together when we were launching this, and we did like a quick, just everyone make a face, make a feeling. And then we did a screen grab. You could do something similar, or you could use like emojis from the internet, but it's just a good practice to check in. I think, you know, with everything happening right now, don't make any assumptions. You know, sometimes people aren't asked this often enough, like just how are you doing? So we like to do that. I'm going to give you 2 more seconds and done. And I'm going to share the results. And wow, interestingly enough, we are tied for tired and happy being our most popular feelings right about now. And I guess I'm right there with you. I'm tired because it's been a week, but I'm happy because I'm here with you guys. And like I said, you really do give me life. So let's go ahead because we have one more poll before we get into our session today. And 1 second here, I'm going to launch this for you. And I actually made this one in which you can click on multiple options. So you're going to see kind of what sessions do you feel are most pressing for your needs right now? What are some topics that you would like to see? So we have several classes that you can pick from. Feel free to, like I said, select more than one option. I actually turned that feature on. That's something that you can do in Zoom. You can make things multiple choice. So feel free to be like, I want to learn about all of them. And if there's something you're not seeing, you've got some options in there, but if there's something that you're not seeing that you really, really want support in, feel free to drop it in the chat. We're always taking suggestions. Something that's not on there, but Lisa actually mentioned a little while ago. We are in development with Microsoft, and we are going to put together a series of classes devoted to translation tools and how to make the use of our translation tools. So feel free to you can put that in the chat, but know that that's something we've got in the works. And like I said before, I think, one of the things that we'll be doing soon is that we are going to do some training on how to use Microsoft Teams and how to use some of the features of the Office 365 package, because, we are using it, right? And we want to make sure that we're making the most of it. So I'll give you about 10 more seconds because I want to get into accessible social media. All right, and last couple moments. And all right, and I'm going to share the results with you guys so you can see what's on deck. And I see a lot of folks wanting some best practices for remote facilitation. That's awesome. And we actually have that class ready to go. So we will definitely put that on deck for you guys. And Christina has been putting together the most phenomenal presentation on organization with Google Drive. We were looking at it a couple of days ago, and it is on point, guys. So that's coming to you soon, I promise. And we know right now, like New Year's resolutions always start, strong with the organization, but we're going to bring that to you. We want to make sure that we're not cluttering things up, right? So,
amen.
Absolutely. So your girl Christina is going to have that coming very, very soon. And I think it's going to be revolutionary. It's going to change your life and it'll make you more efficient for sure. So continue. If there's stuff that you want to see, continue to pop that in the chat. But at this point, guess what? We are ready to get started. So hold on.
And before we get started, really quickly, I just want to also add that starting next week, the first 15 minutes is going to be dedicated to a family engagement practice online. So we're excited. We're going to reveal a colleague, a parent coordinator who is actually utilizing digital tools to promote family engagement. So next week we will see a best practice online with using virtual facilitation. So can't wait to share who will be providing our next best practice online.
Love that. We started that like right before the end of the year. We had Lori share, we had Abigail share, and it was just so phenomenal. So that's a practice we're going to keep going. So thank you, Derry, for highlighting that because that's going to be huge. But we are now ready to dive into accessible social media. I'm super pumped about this. I know that a lot of you are using social media in your school. We did some presentations on this before the break on how to be utilizing social media. And we specifically also, I think, looked at Facebook. But one of the things that we're going to be doing today is thinking about how when we post on social media, we can be taking advantage of some of the accessibility features. So we want to make sure that when we're posting, just like with our websites, right? And you guys know that compliance date just passed, but you know that with websites, we need to make content accessible. Well, guess what? That extends to all your digital content, including your social media, right? So you want to make sure that you know how to add those elements of accessibility because oftentimes we just don't know. But they are there, and social media, the platforms continue to get better and better, more robust. So knowing how to add these elements will ensure that your content is accessible. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And in today's session, you're going to be able to do two things. One, you're going to learn how to post accessible content in the popular social media platforms. I call them the big three: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then we're also going to have you share an accessible social media post in the platform of your choosing. So that's our goal today. We know that a lot of you do happen to manage your school's social media account. So hopefully you can do it from your school account. But if not, you are certainly welcome to practice it in your own personal account, because this should be a goal for 2021. Anytime you're posting on social media, whether it's on an official basis or capacity as, you know, the parent coordinator, FSC, FLC of your school or your district, it should be accessible, but also just when you're using it on your own, right? Strive to make this a goal for 2021. And as you can see, my GIF is saying, you can do it. All right, so we're going to show you how. So what is accessible social media, right? What does that actually mean? So accessible social media is defined as media that can be accessed by those with disabilities, but also can be accessed by those who speak languages other than English. And you guys know, you get it. You are constantly, asking about making sure that your content is available in other languages, right? That it can be accessed by those who speak a language other than English. So very, very important that we address that with our social media as well. So why is this important? I kind of just told you, but yeah, we need to make sure that our families who speak that other language, which is 50%, right? That's half of our families. But we also need to understand that a lot of our social media platforms don't have accurate accessibility built in. They're getting there, and it's a changing and evolving process. But accessibility is really like this next push in the tech world. And so a lot of these platforms are really upping their game, but it may not feel intuitive, right? So we're going to learn how to kind of make use of those features and what steps we need to ensure so that everyone can access our posts, right? Because knowledge is power. We keep saying that. But if your community can't actually view it, they can't see it, they can't interact with it, it's like it doesn't exist to them. So we're going to make sure that we know what we need to do in order to make it happen. So I want to read a quote from Stella Young. She was actually born with osteogenesis imperfecta and used a wheelchair for most of her life. At the age of 14, which I thought this was so interesting, she audited the accessibility of Main Street businesses of her hometown. And for those of you who don't know, she is an Australian, or I should say she was. She died in 2014, but she was an Australian comedian, journalist, and disability rights activist. And what she said was, my disability exists not because I use a wheelchair, but because the broader environment isn't accessible, right? So I just want us to think about this for a second and really shift our perspective. We oftentimes think about those with disabilities as like, that's the thing that makes you disabled, but that's not true, right? It's the environment that kind of puts it on you. If we build a more accessible environment, then you don't necessarily have an obstacle, right? You're not burdened by a disability. You still have access. And so that's what we're trying to do here. So kind of shift our perspective and really understand that this is about access for everyone. Another really important figure in the advocacy world is Haben Girma. So if you don't know about Haben, both her parents are Eritrean immigrants. She lost her vision and hearing as a result of an unknown progressive condition beginning in her early childhood. And she currently now only has 1% of her vision left. She actually ended up graduating from Harvard Law School, earning her Juris Doctor in 2013. And Gurma says that she became a lawyer in part to help increase access to books and other digital information for persons with disabilities. And in August of 2019, she released a memoir called Haben, the Deaf-Blind Woman Who Conquered Harvard Law. So she is absolutely amazing. And she recently posted in Facebook about kind of a New Year's resolution. So I want to actually open this up so that you can see it. I'll read it for you as well. But just again, highlighting the need, okay, for more accessible social media. So she writes, most photos on Facebook lack descriptions, excluding blind people like myself from conversations and critical information. The computer programs blind people use to navigate apps can read the text in your status, but the programs miss important details in photos. Start 2021 with a commitment to include image descriptions with your photos and help increase accessibility on Facebook. You don't need to describe every leaf in detail. Write 1 or 2 sentences describing the main point of the image. So here is her photo. I am an Eritrean American woman wearing a face mask, multicolored dress, jean jacket, and holding the harness of a German Shepherd seeing eye dog. We're standing in the sun on top of a dry, grassy hill with views of the neighborhoods stretching down to the bay in the distance. But wait, there's more. The sunlight creates shadows on the grass, one for me, one for my dog, and one for the person holding the camera. So in case you're not understanding why this is so important, Haben Girma really hits this home. And so I hope that this is, I know we all start the year with a lot of different, resolutions wanting to do better, but this is an easy one. I promise you. Make that commitment to making more accessible social media. It matters, especially now when we're trying to communicate information. We want to make sure we're not leaving folks out, right? We know that a lot of our photos have critical information. We want to make sure it reaches everyone. And wrong slide deck. Hold on. In case you want to see this in action, this is Haben and my boss, Lisa. I'm going to show this video just to kind of get a sense of why this is so important. So 1 second here.
Okay.
Well, we want more participants there. So whenever there's a disability-related story, try to frame it in a respectful and positive way, and also make the tweet accessible. So if you're posting a short video, make sure the video has captions. If you're posting a photo, use Twitter's photo description feature to add an alt text to add images. Oh, you're fine. I'm understanding.
So I like showing that video because one, Haben is just an amazing woman, but it also, hold on here. Whoop, let me get out of here. All right. So it also highlights why accessibility is so important. And you probably realized that even when this video was taking place, right, there's a lot of background noise. So that feature of, having the captions there, it's not just about, someone who maybe can't hear and who needs the captions, right? It's also for folks like us who are going, wait, what? There's a lot of background noise happening. Those captions were super helpful. Because Haben is both deaf and blind, she uses this communication system, and it's super empowering to her. And look at the advice she's giving us. So we're going to get into how to add things like alt text, making sure that you add captions to your videos. But as you can see, this is why we do this work. This is why it matters so much, right? Someone like Haben needs it. And if we're going to post this information on our social media, we want to make sure everyone has access. This also is from Rob Long. So his viral request as a blind Twitter user. So he wrote, I'm a blind Twitter user. There are a lot of us out there. Increase your ability to reach us and help us interact with your pictures. It's really simple and makes a huge difference to our Twitter experience, allowing us to see your images our way. Thanks for the description. So it went viral. I mean, look at what ended up happening. Both Lynn Manuel Miranda, right, and Chelsea Clinton are like, you know what? Thanks for pointing it out. Done and done. So, what are you waiting for? Join the cool kids, right? They're doing the right thing. And so are you guys. All right. So we're going to help you with that today. But I promise you, it's going to make a world of difference to the folks who you want to reach. And maybe you're not like actually understanding that you're not reaching them. All right. Oh, there we go. So what makes social media acceptable? There's 5 kind of big categories that we are going to walk you through today and dive deeper in. So we're going to go over plain language. We're going to go over camel case for hashtags. We're going to talk about image descriptions, also known as alt text. We're going to talk about captioning and audio. And we're also going to talk about some meaningful shortened links. Okay. So these are like, again, when it comes to social media, the 5 really big ones, and we'll talk about each one of these in depth. If you have questions, please, again, pop it into the chat. We want to make sure that you understand how to do this. So the first one is plain language. So plain language is defined as language that can be understood the first time it is read, right? And we know that oftentimes educators and school folks, anyone in education really, we tend to write at a very high academic level, using a whole lot of fancy terms and writing in a way that's just well beyond what most people can read. So instead, we want to write in plain language. So that means avoiding a few things like acronyms, which, I say it all the time. In the DOE, we are an alphabet soup, right? We have an acronym for everything, including DIIT, FACE, right? We have all these acronyms, but it's best to avoid them, especially the first time you're posting content. Then in the comment thread, you can certainly start abbreviating, but when it comes to acronyms, it's best to spell it out the first time around, so that folks know exactly what you mean. We also want to avoid abbreviations. We want to avoid jargon, edu jargon, academic jargon. The one I like to call attention to all the time because it's so just persistent in our world, scaffolded instruction. I hear that term all the time, and I'd like to call out to folks, think about what that means, right? Like, we're talking about a construction word and an education word and putting those two together. Think about a family that's then reading that in another language. Probably doesn't make a lot of sense, right? I don't know what scaffolded instruction translates to in Chinese or Urdu or Russian, but I can't imagine that someone's going to actually know what we mean by that. That's one of those like edu jargon words that is meaningless. So avoid it, right? We don't want to use the jargon of the DOE and the education world. We want to also avoid lengthy words and sentences. Again, boil it down to what you really mean, right? Why use, 20 words when you can use 10? So kind of keep it simple, right? That old adage. We want to avoid the passive voice, and we want to avoid ableist language. Now, if you're wondering what that means, we do have a link that will take you to an article more about it, but just a couple examples, things like the economy has been crippled by debt, or you'd have to be insane to want to invade Syria, or they're just blind to the suffering of other people, right? Or only a moron would believe that. These are ableist terms, right? So instead of saying things like the economy has been crippled by debt, we can say the economy is suffering a depression, or, the economy is on a downturn. That's, not invoking any type of ableist language. We're being, not attaching it to a particular type of physical capability. So just kind of keep these things in mind. Again, if you're wondering what that means, we do have an article that breaks it down even further. So here's an example just to kind of put it in perspective. Our non-plain language example, right? It is imperative that ICT and all pedagogues include UDL at all levels of instructional support. So think that through for a moment. First of all, is a mouthful, right? Imperative, pedagogues, right? I mean, we're already using those fancy words, right? Pedagogues, like, can't we just say teachers? And then we've got two acronyms in there, ICT and UDL. Folks might not know what that means. So let's make that more plain language, right? Instead, we can say things like universal design for learning isn't just for students who struggle, it's for everyone. Way easier to understand, right? So just kind of keep this in mind. This is what plain language is all about. And if you need more support, we have it available to you. I just want to call this out. It's available on demand. We can pop this link into the chat. If Latiqua can do me the favor of putting in our on demand, we have a whole instruction sheet on how to get access to the Otis platform, but you can watch this video. It's absolutely free to all NYC DOE employees, and you can learn more about plain language. It's super important, okay? So Latiqua, I see just pop that link into the chat for you, and that'll show you how to access. We have several on-demand classes that I'm going to plug as we go through this, but if you want to learn more about each one of these elements, I highly recommend you check out those on-demand classes. All right, so our next feature that we need to think through when we're posting social media is hashtags, right? Now, you guys already know social media makes use of hashtags to help organize and curate information. However, it can oftentimes feel like a puzzle to solve because you don't include spaces. I think back to my mom years ago, like 15 something years ago, when like cell phones were a big thing, and you had T9 for texting. I'm really dating myself. You guys might remember T9, but you had to like press a certain button several times to get to the letter you needed. Well, my mom did not understand the space button. And so anytime she sent me a text message, it was literally a long string, and it was like a puzzle. It was like, okay, so let's see. I wonder what my mom is trying to say. So that can kind of be the same experience that folks have with hashtags. Sometimes, especially the longer hashtags, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we can use something called camel case to make it easier to read. So in order to use camel case, all you need to do is capitalize the first letter of each word in the hashtag. So as you see here with camel case, right, it's written without the space, but the C in camel and the C in case are capitalized. Makes it a whole lot easier to read. Now, I do want to point something out because I did this training recently, and someone said, I'm typing in the hashtag, but when you're doing it on a lot of these platforms, it auto generates for you. And the auto generated one doesn't have camel case. That's absolutely correct. So be careful when you're kind of typing in your hashtags and you see like the suggestions pop up or the auto generated feature pop up. Instead, type it out yourself so that you can include the capital letters. I know we're all about, efficiency and easy, but guess what? Again, social media hasn't necessarily made some of these features built in. So when you're going to type in that hashtag, rather than, use the one they're suggesting, even if it's the one you want, type it yourself so that you can add in those capital letters. So here are some camel case examples, right? So we've got our not camel case, and then look, our camel case. Those two C's are capitalized. Follow Friday, right? Instead, the two F's here. If you're talking about acronyms, you can go ahead and keep all the letters in the acronym capitalized. So for UDL chat, see how it's written here with the UDL all capitalized, right? And then chat lowercase. And then we have not so easy to read versus super easy to read. So camel case is one of those things. I mean, you can instantly do it and add it to your post, and it's going to make a world of difference. I promise you. Because sometimes I'll even look at a hashtag and I'm like, huh? Like, what does this say? And, being a letter or two off it will definitely change the way you read the hashtag. And I've had that happen to me before where, it's like, ooh, if I attach that S to the end of the word versus at the beginning, changes the meaning of the hashtag. So think that through as you're doing this, because it's going to make it easier for people to understand what that hashtag actually means. All right, so our next feature that I want to discuss with you is captioning and audio. So this is particularly important with videos, and we saw that just a moment ago with the video from Haben. For those of you that were having a hard time hearing, because again, there was a lot of background noise, right? Captions are super helpful. So making sure that you have captioning in your videos will be a huge game changer. If you're using something like YouTube Studio, which I know a lot of you use to help upload your videos, YouTube Studio will do it for you. You can add auto captioning and translated auto captioning to your videos. So definitely whenever you're making a video, add that captioning in. A lot of the social media platforms, when you're adding the video directly, say you've got a video on your phone, it's not going to do it for you. But if you put the video through YouTube, use YouTube Studio to add in that captioning, and then take that video from YouTube and post it on your social media, that's the workaround. So basically, utilize YouTube Studio. It's going to make a world of difference for the captioning piece. Now, in terms of audio description involves the accessibility of the visual images of, say, something like theater, television, movies, and other art forms for people who are blind, have low vision, or otherwise visually impaired. It's kind of like a narration service. It's provided at no additional charge to a patron that attempts to describe what the sighted person takes for granted. So those images that a person who is blind or visually impaired formerly could have experienced only through whispered asides from a sighted companion. So in places like theaters, museums, and accompanying television, film, and video presentations, audio description, commentary, a narration which guides the listener through the presentation with concise, objective descriptions of new scenes, settings, costumes, body language, and other sight gaps. And these are all things that, can be slipped into portions of dialogue or song. So it's something that is on the forefront. Audio descriptions really are going to be the next frontier. So just kind of something to be aware of. It's not necessarily something you're going to add right now, but this is something that hopefully social media is going to be adding soon. Okay. And like I said, we're going to keep plugging those on demands, but video captioning, and I should say translated video captioning, both of those classes are available on demand. So if you want to learn more, right, and how to do it, because you're like, wait, you mentioned YouTube Studio. Are you going to show us? I'm not, but you can learn on your own with those on demand classes. All right, so link shorteners is our next way to make sure that our content is accessible. So link shorteners are especially helpful because what they do is they take that long URL and shorten it. So right now you can see up at the top, I have this long URL, right? I'm sharing from a Google slide presentation. So this is, if I were to share this entire link, a screen reader would read docs.google.com/presentation /lowercase d /1 uppercase R, uppercase C, lowercase d, uppercase Z, uppercase D. You're probably like, oh my God, Laura, stop. Right? Don't read that long URL. But oftentimes that's what a screen reader is going to do. So instead, you can use a link shortener. And it's going to do a few things for you. It's going to save some characters, okay? It saves minds from those annoying screen readers reading every single character, and half of it is gibberish, right? It's also going to make it easier to type into a browser. So no one, if you wanted to access this presentation, no one would sit there and go, okay, wait, let me make sure I type it in just so. No, instead, look at what we've done. We have our link shortener down here, bottom right-hand corner, digin.nyc/A11Y social. If you type that into your browser right now, it's going to get you to this presentation. If you don't believe me, go ahead and try. Link shorteners are especially useful in Twitter where you know that you're limited by characters. So go ahead and use them. And I see someone in the chat. Yep, Wanda, you're talking about Bitly. Guess what? You're already ahead of me. So there's two common link shortener resources that you can use. Which one you use is, up to you. There's benefits to each one. So you've probably heard of tinyurl and you've probably heard of Bitly. I personally like Bitly. I really think that Bitly is just has a more robust platform because of something that I'm going to mention in a moment. But let's first talk about tinyurl. So tinyurl lets you customize your URL. So if you want to change the backend, you can. It's not case sensitive. So that means if you just want it to say, you want the backend to just say, social media presentation, it doesn't matter if you type it in into your browser in capital letters. If you make some capital, some lowercase, it'll still take you to the same place, which means that if you want it to be written in camel case to make it easier for folks to read, you can, but it doesn't mean that if they type it in lowercase, they won't get there. Now, the only thing with tinyurl is that once you create it, it's not editable afterwards because it's a website where you just kind of go in, you make the URL, and you're done. There's no sign in, no nothing. Moving on to Bitly. Bitly's a little different. Bitly, you can create an account with, and I prefer Bitly, and here's why. You create an account. It's absolutely free. I think it's one of those freemiums, so you can certainly pay for it and have the more premium features, but I have a free account and it's doing everything I needed to do just fine. So just like with tinyurl, it does allow you to customize your URL. It is case sensitive though. So if you type something in with a capital letter, when you go to put it into your computer, it must be written in a capital letter. So that's the difference between tinyurl and Bitly. Bitly is case sensitive. Now, because you're logging in, you're going to be able to see the data and the analytics. And this is the reason I particularly like Bitly, is because I've signed in with my account, I've created my shortened URL, and now I can see my clicks. I know how many times it's been clicked. It'll even show you where people are clicking from. I remember I just happened to create one and I saw that someone clicked from Japan, and I was like, well, that's kind of cool. So it allows you to see the data and the analytics. And again, because you're signing in and you're creating an account and therefore you're managing it, it is editable afterwards. So, depending on what you're doing and why you need it, you might want to go with a Bitly. If it's something that you're not planning on changing, you kind of don't care, you need something quick and you need it short, tinyurl. But again, we're not here to advocate for either one, but link shortening in and of itself is helpful when you're using social media. All right, so our next element of accessibility is image descriptions, also known as alternative text or alt text. And remember, this is important because, users that are blind, they're not going to be able to access the content that's in the image, right? So images without that description, they basically don't exist, right? It's an unfinished story. And as Haben said, blind individuals miss your content completely, right? If there is no description, that photo for a blind individual may as well not even be there. Okay. So super, super important that you are adding image descriptions, especially because we know that many images contain important information. You guys are posting, flyers, you're posting, images that are showing, screenshots of how to do something, right? So that image has content, it has information. We want to make sure that we provide a description so that folks know what's happening. So let's now get into the different platforms and thinking through the accessibility in Twitter, in Facebook, and in Instagram. We're going to go over all three super quickly. So in order to access the accessibility in Twitter, you're going to need to go into the settings. All right. And then this is just to be clear, things look different on like the website versus the app. So sometimes you might be noticing like, I'm on a mobile device. It's in a slightly different spot. So this is, just to be very clear, this is if you're on the website or browser version of Twitter, not on the mobile app. But either way, you're going to go into settings, you're going to go into the general area and go to accessibility. All right. And then what you're going to want to do is make sure that you turn on these different elements. So you can increase your color contrast, you can compose image descriptions, so you have to check that off. And you can also reduce motion. Now, if you're wondering why, that is a feature for folks, sometimes individuals who suffer from seizures, rapid motion and whatnot can actually induce a seizure. So you can actually check that off to reduce motion. Again, this is important information if you want to help folks who are using Twitter and they're like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to turn these settings on. It's all in the settings. Okay. And that's what we meant. Like, it's not just integrated in, it's kind of an extra step. And I see Lisa's comment, one day our hope is that it is by default, right? You don't have to do this extra step. It's just built in. But right now you got to take that extra step to turn it on, right? Because by default, these things, they're all unchecked. Okay, so that's why we're kind of showing this. These things aren't just automatically on. So if you're going to your Twitter and you're like, I don't see the ability to add alt text, it's because in the settings, you got to turn it on and then you can add it. But once you do this, okay, you will then be able to add alt text. So here is, an image has been added. Down below, once you've turned this on, okay, you'll see the ability right here to tag someone. But then if you have that alt text on, you'll see the ability to add a description. Okay, so when you click on that, it'll open up this box to add your description, and you can add whichever description you would like. Now, I'm of the mindset that social media is fun, and so make your description fun, right? I mean, we could certainly keep it simple and say, dog sitting on a couch. Or, right, we can have a little bit more fun and say, extremely handsome mini schnauzer on a couch. So, think through what seems appropriate. You certainly wouldn't want to have humor in every single, alt text description. But if it feels like a fun post, you can add a little humor into it. I will tell you right now, folks who need alt text appreciate the humor. Okay. So you can certainly put in things like extremely handsome mini schnauzer on a couch. And he absolutely is handsome. This is Otto von Schnauzer. This is Lisa's dog, and he is absolutely the cutest. So once you add in the description, you click done. Now, I do want to be really intentional because, you saw Haben. Haben included her description within Facebook, and that's certainly one way to do it. But with Twitter, remember, we're limited by character. So you wouldn't necessarily want to put the alt text as part of your message, because it's going to eat into your character limit. Remember, you're limited to 280 characters. Notice how when you add in the description, look, you're not limited by the 280. You're actually given a whole lot more. So in Twitter, really do make use of that alt text. It's going to be helpful. And that way you don't have to shorten your content that you're posting because you've added alt text. Okay. All right. So if you're like me, I love GIFs. I think they're really fun. And, I think that they jazz up. I mean, you've seen it. They jazz up your presentations. They're great for social media. They're great in the chat. I know Zoom doesn't have GIFs, but Microsoft Teams does. And I use them all the time. But it used to be that if you wanted to use a GIF, you didn't have the ability to add alt text. Well, guess what? This is what I mean when I say these social media platforms are getting better and better, because now instead of having to take up valuable space in your content to describe the alt text, okay, you can go ahead and add in the image description. Same process for images, right? So again, this is in Twitter, same process. You're going to see underneath that add description, and then you can add the description the same way that you do for pictures. You add it in. So 3 dogs giving applause. Again, if it feels appropriate, make it funny, but you can add in the description. And when you're done, hit done. And then that gets that is in there available for those who need it. Okay. Now I get this question from folks, and I just want to put it out there. If you don't need alt text, you're not going to see alt text. So it's not visible for those who don't need it. But for those who do, they're typically using something called a screen reader, and the screen reader is absolutely going to pick up the alt text and read it for them. So you might be wondering, you hit the done and you're like, where is it? Where's my description? I can't see it. You're not going to see it. It's kind of, you've put something on what's called like the back end. It's in there, but most users, let me restate that. Most sighted users are not going to see it. Instead, what you are going to see is when you've added in any type of alt text to both an image or a GIF, you'll see this little ALT in the corner. That lets you know you've added it, but it won't actually typically write it or display it for you. Okay. So just want to throw that out there so that folks understand the way it works. All right, so let's get into image descriptions for Facebook. So again, sticking with the mini schnauzer theme, right? So in Facebook, what you're going to do is you'll add your image, and then you're going to right click. Okay. You're going to change the alt text. So there's no settings to turn on with Facebook, but you will have to go in and change the alt text. And what you're going to want to do is override generated alt text. Now, let me explain why. Okay. Generated alt text typically isn't accurate. If you've taken some of my sessions with me, I've talked about this. Generated alt text uses AI, artificial intelligence. And so it's kind of, it's predicting what that is. Oftentimes the predictions there, it's not necessarily that it's wrong, but what AI misses is the context in which you're using the image. Okay. So you're not going to know, I should say Facebook's not going to know the way in which you want to use this image. They may not be predicting the best alt text. So instead, you're going to override the generated alt text and you type in your own. So again, here is, and Otto, for those of you that don't know, Otto's got a very human name, Otto von Schnauzerstein, in the courtyard grass of his Florida home with an orange and yellow ball. Okay. So with social media, feel free, have fun with your alt text. It doesn't need to be super buttoned up, but it also depends on the type of post that you are generating. All right. Once you type in that alt text, you hit save. And then again, it's there for those who need it. You may not necessarily see it, but once you've changed it, it's going to be there for the user that needs it, and their screen reader is going to pick up on it. Okay. So here are image descriptions in Instagram. Okay. I told you we were going to go over the big three. So with Instagram, again, it's in the settings. You're going to have to go into the advanced settings, write your alt text, and then add it in. So here again, sticking with the dogs, we love dogs. Elliot the dog laying on a bed with his Henry the hippo stuffed toy. Okay, so you can feel free to get as descriptive as possible, depending on what you're doing, have fun with it. But these are in some of the more advanced settings. So that's sometimes the difference. So if you're wondering where it is and you're having trouble finding it, it's typically not, front and center. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And if you want to learn more about alt text, it is one of our on-demand classes. It's actually the shortest one at 13 minutes. It's a quick class. So if you want to learn more about alt text, I highly recommend you check it out, because alt text is needed for all images, not just on your social media like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, but you really also want to make sure it's on your website. If you're including images in a presentation, it should have alt text as well. If you've got, say a flyer or a document of any kind and you're adding in images, you need alt text. So if you want to learn more about alt text, I highly recommend check out that on-demand class. All right, so I think I've given you all the tools. So let's do some hands-on. All right, we are going to hopefully help you compose a post on social media, you can, maybe start by thinking about something that you want to share that you learned today. Maybe you've already got a post queued up. You were planning on sharing it today anyway, but now you're going to jazz that post up, making sure that you've got those accessibility features in it. And then think about where you're going to share this. You now have the tools to be able to do it in both Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So take a moment and think through, which is your preferred platform. Maybe you're going to do it in all three, which, more power to you. We love that. So kind of think through which platform. And we are very specific. We covered Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We don't really recommend some of the other platforms like Snapchat or TikTok. So if you're using those, you should rethink that. Some of them aren't really safe, privacy concerns, especially with TikTok. But kind of keep it to the big three. And then think about, like I said, something cool that you learned today. Draft your post, include, right, those elements, and then don't forget your hashtags. And one really fun thing, I'm going to just skip ahead for a second. If you tag us on Twitter, we will absolutely retweet you. Why not? So I've included our Twitter handles. Most of us maintain active professional Twitter accounts. So I've got myself, Christina, Lisa, and Tali from Common Sense Media. You're certainly welcome to tag us in your tweets. Please use our hashtag MIC Schools Dig In. You're also welcome to use A11Y. That's actually the hashtag that's very common for accessibility. You're also welcome to use accessibility or digital accessibility. Remember camel case, right? Think about also your school's hashtag. You may realize that maybe your school's hashtag isn't currently using camel case. Guess what? You can go ahead and start using that right away. So if you're realizing like, oh, we don't typically do that with our own school, change it. It's not going to change the hashtag. When you type a hashtag in with capital letters versus lowercase letters, there is no difference. It will take you to the same content. So might as well just make it more accessible. I should have said that before, but it's the same hashtag. So if you're realizing, the one you use for your school or for your district isn't written that way, go ahead and change that. Now I see some folks in the chat saying, it's my principal that manages our social media. No big deal. If you have your own and you feel comfortable, remember what I said. This is not just for only school. Really think when you're posting on your own personal social media, think about your audience, right? Think about who could potentially be viewing your stuff. So if you feel comfortable, you're certainly welcome to practice with your own account. If you don't manage a school account, you're still welcome to tag us if you would like. But just keep that in mind. This is not just for school. This is for any time you're using social media. Okay. So if there are any questions at this point, I want to pause right here. I know that we're getting close to time. Folks are saying they're having to run. If that's the case, don't worry. Remember, we record our sessions. You're always welcome to view the recording. We'll post where you can get that information in the team. I want to make sure that you get your questions addressed. So hopefully folks are taking a moment right now, like I said, drafting that post in their preferred platform. Feel free to use those hashtags, and feel free if you're using Twitter, because these are for Twitter, not for Instagram or Facebook. But if you're using Twitter, feel free to tag us. And Tracy, I see your question. I'm really not sure what the school DUNS number is. I have never seen that before, so I'm so sorry.
I think maybe Tracy can reach out to her borough tech director and see if they can help her. I have heard of this. I don't remember the answer, but the borough tech director might be able to know, and I'll drop a link to the contacts for borough tech directors in the chat.
Thank you. I've reached out to everybody and nobody knows.
Oh boy.
I remember someone else at the DOE had this problem a year or so ago. So hopefully your tech director will know, and I'll share that momentarily.
All right, thank you so much.
And I see Ronnie is asking about, I'm, all very new. How do I know if I'm a member of the team? Here's what we're going to do. We've got our remote attendance. It just got posted in the chat. Make sure to click on that to count as your attendance for today. We're going to go ahead and make sure that everyone that signs in to our attendance is added to the team as well. So by signing attendance, we'll kind of do a cross check and make sure that if you're not part of the team, we're going to go ahead and add you. Remember, just to reiterate, no one will get a welcome email so that it doesn't clog up your inbox. And once you're added, you'll be able to see what's in the team. And we'll be reposting a lot of the links that were shared today, all of this information. We'll put where you can access the recording, all that good stuff. That's the benefit of the team, right? That's why we want to be using the team. It's a way to get more information. So definitely click that attendance link. We'll keep popping it in because I know that as people add comments, it tends to kind of go up. So we'll every so often repost that attendance link. But this class is called Accessible Social Media. Okay. In fact, I'm going to take you guys there so that you can see it. And it's all the way up at the top. It is the second class. So accessible social media. Okay. Fill this out and then you'll get a follow-up email for those of you that do need CTLE. You'll get that follow-up email. And then, like I said, we'll cross-check for those of you that are filling out the attendance today. We'll cross-check the folks that are filling it out. We will then add anyone who's not part of the PC team to it. I promise you, you're not going to get spammed, okay? I know that was a big concern. You're not going to get any welcome emails. No one's going to be replying all. Don't worry. It is a feature we've turned off. And as I stated, we're working with our folks at Microsoft to make sure that teams are set up in such a way that, it's not cluttering anyone's inbox. It's the last thing we want to do.
Thank you so much, Laura. Again, this information is so valuable and so important to understand and bring awareness. I'm like, wow, who would have thought that we can provide accessible information with using our social media accounts? So I really appreciate that. In the time that we want to make sure that we provide equitable information to all. I think this session was very, 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 very needed. So thank you again, Laura and team. This ends our session. It's 11:18. If anyone has any questions, feel free to drop your question on the chat or follow us. Go back to the Parent Coordinator team channel. I know it's called Parent Coordinator. It's for anyone. If you're not a parent coordinator, if you're a teacher, if you're an AA, if you are just working with families or students and you want that extra support with understanding how to use digital tools, please join us. We welcome everyone. This is information that, you can use in any type of, whatever your title is. So again, I want to just thank Tylee, Lisa, Laura, Latiqua, Christina, and my colleague Diana for today. And we thank you, our FLCs, FSCs, parent coordinators, teachers, AA, everyone is on the line today. Thank you for joining our first Friday professional development for the beginning of the 2021 school year. With that, just want to make sure that everybody just, if you guys can sign in, so we have attendance for today and fill out the survey. And you can unmute yourself now. I think that we're going to stop.
Yeah, we can go ahead and stop recording. I'll do that.